Last time. This better be it. Last time. Okay. Alright, I think that is good enough. Seatbelt on. Good morning, good morning. Oh my goodness. Alrighty. Well, let's get rolling. Well, I mean, you see the title of the episode, you see the title of the video. Where will I get started? Where will I get started? How I ruined my life so far. You know, it's probably something I should be talking to a therapist about or something, you know? Like, some really deep stuff. But, you know, isn't that funny? That's exactly what YouTube's for, right? Or in a sense like that, right? Everyone just comes out here on the internet box, the black screen that you got in your pocket, the black box, and then they let their emotions out and they kind of get a little vulnerable. They tell you their story, right? That's the idea. No, but I guess a little live and learn stuff. But to get to the point, if I was really gonna pin down where it started when, obviously, when I was a young boy. You know, and I used to be a lot more active into activities and stuff like that. I used to do karate when I was a really young kid. Kind of forgot why I fell out of that. Because, you know, to this day, I still want to do some type of martial arts, mixed martial arts. I think Taekwondo's sick, you know. BJJ. But I'm getting a little too besides the point here. But the thing that I really did when I was younger was softball. You know, where are my softball people at? Youth leagues and whatnot. Chicago Cubs. That's the team I played on. I'm not from Chicago, but you know, Little League players will know what I'm talking about. Whew. I made sure to bring the water this time. I'm not slipping up on that one again. Jeez, that was such a mistake. But yeah, Little League, and I like softball too, man. You know, it was an interesting learning curve. I felt like, I mean, I was told that I had good hand-eye coordination. You know, of course, everyone fucking probably tells their kids that and everything, but I don't know. Even watching my own daughter right now, I can see that she's very dexterous with her hands. So it's an interesting thing to observe. Without getting into too much, my family is kind of a split family in the way, you know, my parents weren't really a nuclear family, if you will. You know, there's complexities to things. And one way or the other, and it wasn't my fault, but it was born from my decision that really caused a very, very, like, explosive confrontation between both of my families. And I really do feel like that imprinted some type of trauma memory or trauma relation to me making really big, like, decisions for myself. And I know that sounds stupid, but I'm sure some other people can relate to that same sentiment of, it's like a form of analysis paralysis, to where you want to make a decision, you want to progress, you want to do things for yourself and have fun or be competitive, just anything, you name it. But the second that involves other people having to involve themselves around you or in it or in your efforts, it just becomes that much more, I don't know, it just seems that much more difficult to surmount, or there's a cloud of anxiety or paranoia around it that is just impossible to shake. And you find yourself just doing things because people tell you to do it, or they just guide you to it, and you're kind of just following a carrot, or just kind of following steps people are laying out before you. And man, and without getting too ahead of myself, because of that incident, I pretty much quit softball. I'm like, nope, not doing that again. Not gonna have any type of confrontation or accident like that happen ever again. And that's, just fully retreat into just staying inside. I mean, of course, wouldn't stay inside all the time. I'd go outside sometimes. But my point is that I never invested myself into extracurriculars. Pretty much never again, until one time, and this is the next, I guess, bad step that was taken, I suppose, but I guess it was born from the same trauma of not wanting to be a part of something that's probably going to cause an incident between both of my families, which is stupid because it's like, okay, but I shouldn't let that stop me. But thinking about things like that in the moment is a lot more different than looking back 2020, 2020 vision, hindsight. But it was a mix of that and also wanting to fit in. And it's like, okay, tonight, jeez. It was a day in middle school where we were having basketball tryouts for the basketball team, and I finally, I guess, gained the confidence to try to attempt to put myself into some type of athletics or whatnot again. But for some reason or another, I thought it was a good fucking idea to also go to the park right next to our school and get drunk and high for like the first fucking time for these basketball tryouts. And I don't even have to explain how those tryouts went. I didn't make the fucking team, okay? And it was from that moment where it was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna be, like a teenager, nigga. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna drink and smoke, schmirk. And, just do all the shit. Acid, shrooms. I actually was never really a super big drinker. I just did it a few times when I was a teenager. I was much more of a smoker and a psychonaut, even though I'm definitely not somebody that did it as much as probably the craziest person but probably about a dozen trips on my hands. Which, it's like, that's not something to be proud of. If you have 0, that's what you want, okay? But that's a whole other topic of a video. I'm all over the place here. That's alright. And it was pretty much, from that moment onward, and obviously, as a teenager, you become apathetic to schooling and education, and then overarching the world, there's so much I could go into, but I'm trying to keep this video as succinct as possible. But I'm a mixed individual, and being introduced to certain aspects of history and whatnot, and ideologies and whatnot, it makes you super jaded about the world around you. And it takes a lot of thought and positive place yourself, and whatnot. But as a teenager, it's kind of hard to put into perspective how important everything at that time is in your life, and so if there's one thing I'll say as a piece of advice to any young people that fucking may have watched this out there, is do not become apathetic. Apathy is your enemy, okay? Things may be tough or seem futile, but they're not. And completely giving up and believing that everything is futile will make it that way. So it may not be in the traditional lane or avenue or school system that you find your worth or you find your enjoyment, but I plead for you to find that some way or somehow. And when you do find it, put your 110 fucking % into it, because that was also my issue. And this is gonna be a whole different video, but I'm gonna go into it a little bit right now. But another venture that I had with a few of my friends was music, and we like to do music, and my music is actually still out there for you to find if you're able to find it. It wouldn't be that hard if you have a little bit of a brain, but we did it, but we didn't do it. And people that know how much you have to put into music know what I'm talking about when I say that. It's a lot more than just going inside your homie's house that has a PC or a mic, having rhythm and recording on a beat and making words rhyme. I mean, that's how you make a song. That's how you make a rap song, at least. That's what we did. Right? Failed rappers, failed artists, right? Reversing in here. It takes so much more work to make a venture like that successful than I feel like a lot of people realize, and a lot of people are willing to admit or compromise into doing or committing themselves to doing, which we didn't. I tried a few things here and there. I remember I did do a live show. It was like a pay to perform type thing. Some people may know what I'm talking about, some people may not. It's pretty much a paid performance judged competition for music artists and whatnot, or rap artists. It was an interesting experience. It kind of fell flat in some parts, but I won't go into too much about that. I might embarrass somebody. But so that's why we failed at music, and part of how I ruined my life so far. Another thing is, you may have noticed, is I have these face tattoos, which you would think, oh yeah, obviously you used to be a rapper, and so you got these fucking face tattoos to try to be a rapper. Not exactly. And I can go into it more into a different video, but in the short, I was gonna Minecraft myself the long way, if you will. Working on dying, if you will, if you've ever heard that phrase. Just completely dive into my own hedonistic lifestyle, do whatever I want without any cares or morals or ethics. And just really fuck shit up. Thankfully, I gave the Lord a chance again, and I'm not trying to make this a preachy video. At least this one isn't a preachy video. But yeah, I gave Jesus a chance again because he always gives me a chance. So that's all I'm gonna say about that right now. But I'm thankful that I was pulled back, but obviously these things have held me back a lot, and it's been myself that has held me back a lot. And yeah, I am in the process of trying to, figure out a laser clinic to get these lasered, but right now I'm still just kind of I got the handicaps on, if you will. And yes, it's my fault. It's my decision. I jumped the gun. If I was willing to bet, I have some undiagnosed psych problem or something. I probably should see a therapist, but what's the meme? American healthcare, right? So we're working on it. And as you can see, I can still laugh and I can still smile. And obviously this isn't a woe with me, commiserate video. At least I hope it doesn't come off that way. I hope it kind of comes off as kind of see my mistakes so you don't have to make yours in a type of way. And I'll probably go into it more. There'll probably be a part 2 of this or part 3. No promises, It was pretty much from the moment on, after getting these facial tattoos and kind of pulling back, and I'm thankful for my wife for loving me through all of this and everything, and being so supportive, and my family also. I'm so thankful for them. I don't know if I would be here without them as well. But it's pretty much from that point onwards where I've kind of just been stalled out for the better part of a decade. I've tried things here and there that haven't been successful. I've tried to stream, which I haven't given up on. It's just I don't have the time for that right now, and it's hard to stream when you're streaming to nobody, pretty much. You're just like chilling, playing games, and it's different when you're streaming aside from just chilling and playing games. If I knew there was at least 5 people that were like concurrent, always gonna be showing up, streaming would be so much easier. But I mean, it's also easy when it's just, okay, I'm just gonna turn the stream on and just play games and just let it rock. But anyone that streamed before or tried to stream knows what I mean. I've tried different jobs than basic retail, and they just didn't work out. Maybe you could argue that it's because I didn't apply myself exactly how I should have, or I didn't appreciate it how I should have. But man, without going into too much about it, anyone that's done any type of like water mitt, demolition, restoration stuff, you'll know how fucking bullshit that shit is. At least being like the hands-on guy. There's very bad times during those days. I guess pretty much is what I'm saying is don't become a loser like me. dive into your hobbies, put yourself out there, believe in yourself, and just know that you alone are your number one advocate, okay? And also, you alone can like, comment, and subscribe on this video.